I don't sing, I talk my song. Okay? So what's your song? What are you going to sing? Well, it goes back to your purpose. What are your talents? What are you good at? What do you like to do? What's important to you? What do you feel like you should be doing? And then you try to grow your business based upon those principles, those fundamentals. So when you get up and do your business, you're doing it because it's part of your expression, you know. This is the note I can get to play in life. And then the second decision should be to find an ideal lifestyle and then choose your business. Figure out how you want to live first, and then make a decision to live that way, and then make the business conform to that, rather than having business and making your lifestyle conform to that. Because most people who are going to work today on the freeways are conforming themselves to life rather than having life conform to them. Let the business come to you, not you to the business. Become a preeminent expert in your field, because that's going to be required of you if you're an entrepreneur. You'll always have to be learning and studying. Ride a trend that's on the wax, not on the wane. Whatever business you choose, whether information, widgets, or services you choose, if those three of those things, if they're heading in the tank, if the long-term trend is the baby boomers don't want it, then certainly, for heaven's sakes, get out of that business as quick as possible. Because it's on the wane. You're swimming upstream instead of flowing with the current. Don't be first, don't be last, be a copycat. Watch who's making it. Watch the people who climb the cliffs. Figure out the secret routes to the top of the mountain and follow where they go. You know, it's pretty dangerous to be climbing cliffs yourself until somebody's figured it out. No se habla employees. That means I don't speak employees. In Spanish, it's no se habla español, no se habla employees. In other words, try to have it as few employees as possible, because employees are being reclassified from assets into liabilities. Employees reduce flexibility, they reduce profit, they reduce free time, they increase hassle, they increase customer and employer liability, and they increase management headache. And is there any doubt about how I feel about employees? Okay. One more time, will be a little more clear for you here. Employees are death. You got to keep your costs down as much as possible. When you think about it, you ask yourself, what's your profit margin? What profit margin? Say 20%. Okay, 20% profit margin. All right, good. How much is it going to cost for you to add that extra secretary, for instance? Well, it's going to be $2,000 a month. All right, then how many dollars did you have to bring in the door to be able to afford that one person? You have to bring $10,000 in the door to be able to afford that one person. Is it easy for you to bring bucks in the door? Can you make $10,000 that easily? If you can't, you got to ask yourself the question, do I need this person? Or would I rather just have no person, therefore I don't have to have the $10,000 worth of income. I just have enough income to be able to support myself. And I know this is a pretty dim view. It certainly isn't going to be any General Motors coming out of this building, or this room here today. I think businesses should be small, should be lean and mean for the future, and therefore that's why I'm recommending this. Constantly simplify, reduce the number of moving parts, maintenance, management time, hassle, inventory, equipment, employees, etc. Constantly reduce your costs. Make yourself obsolete, which means if you don't make yourself obsolete, somebody else will. Your competitor is going to wipe you out. So you have to be constantly reinventing yourself, constantly changing the way you do business to meet what the future is going to look like, because if you don't, you're going to be reinvented right out of your career. Okay, those are kind of some guidelines that you'll be doing if you're going to be an entrepreneur. All right? I'm just trying to point out to you that you've got to be an entrepreneur. Everyone in this room has got to be taking matters into their own hands, period. Now, the piece I want to add now is if I had done the things that I'm going to tell you now before I had done the making of the money, we wouldn't have had so difficult a time in the last 9 years. I'm just going to tell you really flat out that your money's in danger, and you've got to learn how to protect it and shield it. Because if you're all going to create wealth for yourself, if you're all going to be multimillionaires someday, and even that doesn't have to be all that difficult, because if you just take a couple $100s a month and funnel it into the right kinds of vehicles, without doing anything else, every one of you in this room can be a multimillionaire over a long period of time. Some of you will take 300 or 400 years. But that's okay. Every one of you is going to learn how to protect your assets, because you're not going to be here this long, And then when the assets have to get transferred on to the next generation, how are they going to get taken care of? My sister had a very unfortunate thing happen to her. She just had her brand new little baby, her seventh baby, and her seventh. And her husband, who was 42 or 43, got a tumor in the brain, and before long he was gone. So she has 7 little babies to take care of, and a husband that's out of the picture. And Homer was his name. Homer was extremely smart. He had set it up, put it into various trusts that were impenetrable, trusts where they couldn't get to the money. If they'd been able to get to the money, frankly, they would have squandered it long before the money actually, lasted. It lasted for over 20 years. Put every one of those kids through college, took care of every one of their marriages, took care of her and for a long period of time. He was smart. He set it up. He says, I know that people don't understand money the way I understand money. They didn't know the skills. He didn't teach them, but nobody teaches us the skills of how to make and manage and keep and protect and control the money. So you have to assume that the people you pass it to don't know what you know about how to make it. So we want to put around you a shield, a very powerful shield to protect your assets. In the 60s and the 70s, you could have assets in your name. You could go down to the county courthouse and look up the assets that where your name was attached, the real estate, the car loans, all that stuff. These are the 90s, folks, and you have to live by totally different rules. And the subject of our discussion here in the next few minutes is how to live like a millionaire but be worth nothing on paper, to be a pauper on paper. Well, let's get to the point of creating the shield around our assets so that nobody ever takes them away from us. And you have to start to think in a very defensive mode, because the future is going to be filled with lawsuits, or they'll stem the tide of lawsuits, right? And they'll actually start going down and down and down to where there'll be no lawsuits at all in the country, right? Okay, there are almost 1 million lawyers in America, so what does that tell you? They got to get paid somehow. Now, lawyers have been maligned for a lot. I'm not here to malign my lawyers. I have good lawyers myself. I love my lawyers. They're wonderful. They keep me protected. But this is a dangerous world we live in. Very, very, very dangerous. And you want to make sure that if somebody ever takes it, they don't have a chance to get it. So if you were to try to look at my financial picture today, you'd not find much there. If you try to sue me today, it's going to be a very long lawsuit, because I'm not going to be represented by an attorney. I'm probably going to do it by myself. And I'll fight you tooth and nail, and you won't be able to get anything because there's nothing there to get. We live in a nice home we don't own. I drive nice cars that I don't own. We live a nice lifestyle, which I don't own. But we still continue to live, right? One of these days, what is the probability that each of you will be sued for everything you own? What's the probability?
Pretty high.
20%.
Maybe 20%. If you're in business, over the next 20, 30 years of your life, it's 100%. I'm making my estimation on that. Maybe I'm just a little gray or black about the prospects, but I believe that it's going to be very, very high. Over a period of time, it's going to be 100%. You get sued by somebody, and they're going to want everything you've got. And the first thing the attorney's going to do is look and see how much you do have. Is it worth suing for? If you've got good insurances, maybe they'll sue you just to get to the insurance. So there are some things you can't hide behind because you need to be insured, obviously. But you have to be careful where you pile your assets up. It should not be anything in your own name. It should be the names of businesses and corporations and DBAs, doing business as. It should be the names of family trusts, family limited partnerships, trusts themselves, corporations, etc., on and on and on. It should not be in your own name, period. This is a real game you're going to have to play. It's actually not very fun to have layers of insulation. Maybe if you've got $100,000 net worth, and that's about where you're going to keep it, maybe you won't have to jump through those kinds of hoops. But if over a period of time you grow things that I've been showing you here by taking the wasted parts of your life and just productively invest them for the long-term future, there's going to be many of you in this room. If you do what I tell you to do, have $500, $800, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million. For a long period of time, it's totally realistic, isn't it? Totally realistic. And it's not going to require huge amounts of risk on your part. The only risk that you'll have is, how do I protect that so nobody gets to it? So, remember I said that each of you should be operating your business off of purpose? Well, this is my purpose statement, and I think every one of you in the room should have one. Purpose statement is the guiding light for your business. It's the rudder for your business. You get up in the morning, you ask yourself the question, what am I supposed to do today? And this is my guiding principle. My purpose is to inspire and to empower people to achieve their destiny. When I get up in the morning, I ask myself the question, how can I inspire and empower more people today to achieve their destiny? Inspire means, how can I place hope in people? And how do you quickly place hope in people's lives? You make it understandable. You teach it in a way that they can really get it. That's one of my skills. And that's why Nothing Down was so successful. I took the gobbledygook of business and investing and translated it down to things that people understand. Have you had the world of money translated down to something that's easier to understand for you here today? Yes? So that's one of my skills. It gets something that's inspiring because you say, well, I can do that. Yeah, $1 a day? I can do that. The empowering part is giving people the tools, not just the belief or the hope, but to give them a real tool to go out and do it. And when I teach you this seminar, have there been any tools I've given you? Okay, what specific thing have you got that you can build financial freedom through? It's a little power planner. That's a tool I created specifically, especially for you, as a tool that you can use to help build the success for yourself. The knowledge is also a tool that you're going to be using. The attitudes, as we build towards giving you those tools, there are two reasons why conspicuous consumption is on the way out. Number one, it's economically stupid. A conspicuous consumption will mean flaunting your wealth. It's economically stupid. And two, it's dangerous. Sixth great danger of the modern entrepreneur: being sued by a C, being sued by a competitor, being sued by an employee, being sued by a customer, being sued by a partner, being sued by a FM, family member, or being pursued by a GA, government agency, or gangster, I guess we could throw that in there, government agency. The probability that one of these things is going to happen to you is about 100%. It wasn't that way in the 80s. It wasn't that way in the 70s. But the 90s is going to get worse and worse and worse. So I got to protect myself. So the strategies to protect yourself and your assets. You've got to operate your business from a corporate entity. Some of you are going to start small, and you'll say, well, why do I need to do this stuff? Let me show you why. Okay, suppose let's say those of you involved in USANA, for instance, and you really figure it out, and you really work hard at it, and you create a stream of income of $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a month coming into yourself that's residual. You work hard at it. It's been a couple of years, okay? Now, you started out small. It was first $100 a month, and it was $500 a month, and then it was $1,000 a month, and it built up over a period of time. Now, when it's, say, $5,000 to $10,000 a month, you get sued for somebody who's disgruntled with you for whatever reason it happens to be. Now, are they just going to sue you for a little bit, or are they probably going to sue you for everything you got? Okay, and how do I get around that? I've already got this stream of income that's been flowing into my life. I've got a pattern of it. I've created a trail of it. It's in my bank accounts. It shows it right there. Now, I say, well, I got to avoid this lawsuit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer that money out of my name and put it somewhere else, right? What do we call that in legal terms? What's a conveyance? It's a conveying. You're conveying to some other entity your stream of income. When you convey from one person to another person, what does it create?
A paper trail.
Well, a paper trail, number one. Number two, it creates a taxable event. If I sell this business to somebody else over there, I've created a taxable event. I started from zero. I build it up to this. Now I sell it to them. I'm going to have to pay taxes on it. So that's one of the reasons I want to do it early, because I don't want to have to wait later and have to pay all the taxes by transferring it. The second or the third reason, besides the paper trail and the fraudulent or the conveyance part, the taxes part, is what we call fraudulent conveyance. That means if you lose the lawsuit, then they're going to go back and ask you, have you transferred any of your assets under oath in the last XYZ months? I'm not sure how many months they'll ask you for. Have you transferred any assets to somebody else in the last 6 months? And you're going to have to answer under oath, yes, no, yes, I have. I actually gave my sister-in-law my diamond ring so that, they wouldn't take it. Okay, that's a fraudulent conveyance if you lose the lawsuit. They're going to ask you those questions. And if you fraudulently, that means breaking the law, transfer that asset to somebody else trying to get away from the lawsuit, they go get that from them. And they'll sue your sister-in-law to get that ring back. It's going to create a real mess. What you want to create is 5 years before the lawsuit happened, you want to create the entity, the corporation, or the family trust, or whatever vehicle you're going to use. You want to create that entity before anything bad happens. So by the time something does happen, or if it does happen, you have now created this entity that is, a legal protection for you, and there won't be any taxes because you won't have to sell it. You own it, or you control it, and there won't be any, shall we say, fraudulent conveying of assets. And I'm highly recommending that you set it up before you make it. Because if you're all going to make it, you're going to create a stream of income, and you need to build it from the very beginning. I certainly wish I had done that for myself. So you need to operate your business from a corporate entity. You must avoid putting assets in your name. You must carry adequate liability insurance. Money rules. Money rule. I prepare today for the blank of tomorrow. The catastrophes of tomorrow. I hadn't prepared for that avalanche. I am prepared now. I prepared for the catastrophes of tomorrow. Money rule. I build a blank around my assets. I build a financial fortress around your assets. Now, I'm going to finish up with rule number 7, or secret number 7. I want you to see why you're going to set up your corporation now, because you're not going to be here forever, and you need a vehicle that transfers into future generations without you being there. And you need to set it up now. If one of the major reasons for you to have your wealth is to help other people, then make sure that the money flows for generations to other people, not just to your kids when you die. You probably shouldn't be giving lots of money to your kids when you die. They probably won't know what to do with it. I want them to earn it the same way I earned it. I want them to learn how to manage it. I want to put in certain rules. If you manage it well, you get more of it. You don't manage it well, you don't get more of it. And I want to set up certain institutions to receive monies that flow to me. So the reason that we're setting this up is not only just for protection today, but for long-term gift giving. Okay? Because secret number 7, and I've already alluded to this to you earlier today, is that the purpose for money is to help other people. Yourself included, by the way. You want to make sure that you're at the top of that list. You're going to get helped. But I'm going to ask you this question. If you were a billionaire, which people would you help with your money? Because every one of you has a list of people you automatically think of. When you're watching the television, they come on the TV and you go, oh, if I had money, I would help those people. And then other people will come on the TV, equally as deserving, and you go, let them starve. And every one of us has different groups of people. Some of you will say, it's kids, I gotta help kids. And other people, homeless people, and other people, people with hearing disabilities or certain physical handicaps. Every one of us has purposed ways for our money to go. In other words, when you came here, you came with a mission to help certain specific groups of people. This is my personal belief, so I'm just sharing you what I believe, that those certain groups of people are right now in the year 2010 looking back to you, and they're saying, are you going to do what it's going to take for you to do in order for you to be able to help me in the year 2010? And so I'm going to ask you right now for you to think in your mind as you set up your corporation, as you set up your trust, where is this money going to go? And I would submit that each of you has a different group of people. But it's just like having a purpose. It's like having something that drives your life. If everybody would just do and help the group of person they were sent to help, then there wouldn't be any poverty on this planet. But most of us kind of assume that somebody else is going to do it, right? Like Catherine Genovese in New York City, who went home that night and the guy attacked her with a knife, and they looked out the window, you remember the story, and watched her get attacked. And they all came to the window and watched it and went back to their TVs. She screamed again. They came to the windows again, watched her down there. He stabbed her again. They went back to their TVs. She screamed again. They came to the windows a third time and watched her get stabbed and went back to their televisions. And then they wrote an article about how cold New York was. It has nothing to do with how cold New York is. It has everything to do with the assumptions people make and what they call pluralistic ignorance. They came to the window, they looked across the hall, they saw other people's faces and assumed that they had called and went back to their TV. I'm going to ask you to assume that nobody has called and that you are personally responsible for the people you were sent to help. Personally responsible. And if it starts with $10, then help them with $10. Go out and find somebody you can help and really get it done. And assume that no one else will do a doggone thing unless you do it. Personally responsible. And that the money that flows to you, I promise you, I guarantee you, that if you set that as an attitude, the universe will flow the funds to you.